Nice.
All right. Well, it's 7:15,
Okie doke.
so I'm gonna go live. Okay, going live. Greetings in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We are gathered here today to discuss session 106, which is the last session of the Law of One. But first, we're going to be doing a meditation to help send peaceful, loving energies to Israel, Palestine, and Desiree will expand on that. And then after our Law of One session, we're going to have discussion of related matters. All right, go ahead, Desiree.
Okay. So I got an email from LNL Research, and they called for a group peace visualization. So this is what they said, and then we'll get started. So, as in the case for many around the world, our hearts are heavy with the latest emergence of violent conflict. Within the largest context of the Creator knowing itself, there is faith that all is well, nothing is lost, there is no mistakes. In that faith, there is a peace and understanding, hope, and philosophical security that sees the exercise of free will at play, however, uniformed and unconscious. But on a human level of empathy, emotion, and sensitivity to human suffering, the heart cries out for the needless destruction and suffering of so many. While seeing that all life experience offers catalysts for spiritual evolution, the positively oriented soul, in our understanding, yearns nonetheless for a world of brother and sisterhood among people, where national, ethnic, and religious differences are celebrated but do not become cause for violence, especially state organized violence, where economic inequality does not thrust a few into the stratosphere of luxury, ease, and power while leaving many wrecked with anxiety over how they are going to feed or care for their children, or what happens when the next bill arrives, or what they will do when medical support is needed. We can't create a utopia, of course, but we can do a hell of a lot better than is our current path. That happens not through judgment and bellicosity, but through love and acceptance, especially of the unlovable and unacceptable, of the dark and violent shadow that holds humanity in its grip. The open heart seeks to love and accept things that are things as they are, but it also holds the hope that the darkness can be transformed. That where there is war, there may be peace. That where there is hatred, there may bloom tolerance, forgiveness, and even kinship. Toward that end, we at L&L Research, hurting, bewildered, but determined seekers just like you would like to organize a call. You who read these words are few in number, but you are powerful people, powerful because you have awoken to the inner light within you to seek and become one. And through your studies, you know that with each person who joins in a collective effort, the power of that effort is doubled, particularly if it is unified in its aim. So we thus invite you, encourage you, and ask you to join us in a 10-day program of a daily prayer for peace. So it's starting today and it will go till Sunday, the 11th, and it's about 10 minutes. Um, and it's just like a little meditation. So if you guys want to get ready and maybe mute yourselves just in case someone comes in or whatever and it doesn't interrupt everyone else. It'll take about 10 minutes and we'll go ahead and get started in that. Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
I think they said in the thing that they're doing theirs at noon
Their time,
Eastern
yes.
time every day. So
Yep. Yeah, but I figured it'd be nice to bring it into our meeting today. But yes, at noon, the rest, I put the whole PDF of the meeting, or excuse me, of the email and kind of like the direction to go with it on our group page. So you guys can download that right onto your computers or to your phones or whatever. So you have it, and you could do that here on forward. Okay. All right. So if everyone could take a moment to close their eyes and take a few breaths and allow themselves to get settled into their seat. You're going to take this time of silence that I give you to clear your interior and exterior spaces with love. Just surround yourself with love. Now that you have surrounded yourself with this unconditional love and filled yourself up with it, take a moment to call on your highest self, your team of guides, calling on their power to support, or calling on the power of your team to support and invoke its powers to aid you in the purpose of service to others. Now perceive the suffering in Gaza, in Israel, in the West Bank, whether soldier, civilian, or perpetrator or victim. Ask that love may ease the suffering and heal their hearts. Perceive the widespread enmity and desire for war and violence. Ask that light may illuminate the path out of separation and into unity. Now see that you are linking with all the others who are performing the same exercise. Expand the loving light-filled energy so it wraps around the globe, healing and lightening the heavy vibration. Ask that all who have hearts to hear to be awakened from the fever dream of war into a vision of peace amongst people. Now see the perfection that ever was, always will be. Find solace in the love for all beings. Gently begin to release the power temporarily gifted to you back to your higher self and your teams. Make your way back to yourself. Give praise and thanksgiving and giving to the one infinite creator. And when you're ready, come on back.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, you could take more time to do that on your own. I just did like the 10 minutes that they said. Um, but yeah.
Okay. 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 Can you get yourself blankets? Leave your blanket in your room. Get yourself
Thank you, Desiree.
water. Go ahead.
Okay.
Does anyone else's dogs howl at them when they do their meditations?
I don't have a dog. So,
My dogs like to sit in here a lot when I'm in here.
Mine
So,
just sits here and howls. I can't do my ohms without the dog howling at me.
Maybe the dog's joining. The dog's doing its
What?
own ohms.
The thing that I laugh. It makes me laugh during my meditation because I'm thinking he just is he just wants, my human's howling, I'm gonna howl too, and that's just what he's doing, I guess.
are you howling?
I'm doing my ohms.
Oh, well then, yeah, he's joining you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I did silent meditation.
Oh, sometimes I do both, but when I do the ohms, so a lot of times really weird things happen. I'm not talking about the dogs howling, but I mean it makes weird things happen, and that tells me that I need to maybe do more.
That's cool. All right. Do I have a volunteer for reading the questions?
can't see them.
Des? Well, I'm gonna
I think
load up
I,
after I get
I
a
thought
volunteer.
Trevor was hitting it that he was. It
Okay.
doesn't matter. You want to, Susanna? You can.
Yeah,
Yeah, Suzanne.
I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
All right. I'll magnify it for you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get to the right section here. You can see it.
I am. I'm following from the LL research directly.
Oh, okay.
It's session 106.
106. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
So
I'll start with the raw part, I guess.
Okay.
I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now.
Could you first please give me the condition of the instrument?
I am Ra. The parameters of this instrument are marginal, both physically and mentally emotionally. The vital energy of this entity is biased towards strength weakness.
By marginal, do you mean that? Well, let me put it this way. What would the instrument do to make the marginal condition much better?
I am Ra. The instrument is proceeding through a portion of the incarnational experience during which the potential for mortal distortion of the left renal system is great. Less important, but adding to the marginality of distortion towards viability, are severe allergic reactions and the energizing of this and other distortions towards strength weakness. The mental emotional complex is engaged in what may best be termed inappropriate compassion.
Would Ra please recommend the steps we should take to alleviate or reverse the conditions of which you just spoke?
I am Ra. We can do this. The renal distortions are subject to affirmations. The entity at present beginning what may be called initiation is releasing toxins and therefore larger amounts of liquid to aid in the dilution of these toxins is helpful. The allergies are already being largely controlled by affirmation and near constant aid of the healer known as Bob. Further aid may be achieved by the relocation of dwelling and future vigilance against humidity exceeding the healthful amount in the atmosphere breathed. The mental emotional distortions are somewhat less easily lessened. However, the questioner and instrument together shall find it possible to do such working.
How serious and critical is this renal problem? Is drinking liquids, I assume water is the best, the only thing we can do for that, or is there something else?
I am Ra. Note the interrelationship of mind and body complexes. This is one example of such interweaving of the design of catalyst and experience. The period of renal delicacy is serious, but only potentially. Should the instrument desire to leave this incarnational experience, the natural and non-energized opportunity to do so has been built in, just as the period during which the same entity did, in fact, leave the incarnational experience and then return by choice was inlaid. However, the desire to leave and be no more a portion of this particular experiential nexus can and has been energized. This is a point for the instrument to ponder and an appropriate point for the support group to be watchful in regards to care for the instrument. So are mind and body plated as the tresses of hair of a maiden. The nature of this entity is gay and sociable, so that it is fed by those things which we have mentioned previously, the varieties of experience with other cells and other locations and events being helpful, as well as the experience of worship and the singing, especially of sacred music. This entity chose to enter a worshipful situation with a martyr's role when first in this geographical location. Therefore, the feeding by worship has taken place only partially. Similarly, the musical activities, though enjoyable and therefore of a feeding nature, have not included the aspect of praise to the Creator. The instrument is in a state of relative hunger for those spiritual homes which it gave up when it felt a call to martyrdom and turned from the planned worship at the location you call Cathedral of St. Philip. This too shall be healed gradually due to the proposed alteration in location of this group.
Then, as I understand it, the best thing for us to do is advise the instrument to drink much more liquid. And I would imagine the spring water would be best. And we will, of course, move. We could move her out of here immediately, tomorrow, say, if necessary. Would this be considerably better than waiting 2 or 3 weeks for the allergies and everything else?
I am Raw. Such decisions are a matter of free will choice. Be aware of the strength of the group harmony.
Is there anything with respect to the present spiritual or metaphysical condition or physical condition of this house, of the house address, that we're contemplating that Ra could tell us about that would be deleterious to the instrument's health?
I am Ra. We may speak to this subject only to note that there are mechanical electrical devices which control humidity. The basement level is one location, the nature of which is much like that which you have experienced at the basement level of your previous domicile. Less humid conditions would remove the opportunity for growth of those spores to which the instrument has sensitivity. The upper portions of the domicile are almost in every case at acceptable levels of humidity.
How about the metaphysical quality of the house? Could Ra appraise that, please?
I am Raw. This location is greatly distorted. We find an acceptable description of this location's quality to elude us without recourse to hackneyed words. Forgive our limitations of expression. The domicile and its rear aspect especially is blessed, and angelic presences have been invoked for some of your time past.
I'm not sure that I understand what Ra means by that. I'm not sure that I understand whether the place is metaphysically extremely good or extremely negative. Could Ra clear that up, please?
I'm Ra. We intend to stress the metaphysical excellence of the proposed location. The emblements, crops that are cultivated by a tenant and therefore who owns the harvest, of such preparation may well be appreciated by this group. Oh, they were growing cannabis, basically.
Would the cleansing by salt and water then be necessary for this property, or would it be recommended, shall I say?
I am Ra. There is the recommended metaphysical cleansing as in any relocation. No matter how fine the instrument, the tuning still is recommended between each concert or working.
Okay. And if the instrument stays out of the basement, do you think the humidity and physical conditions would be good for the instrument then? Is that correct?
I am Ra. No.
The humidity, we must do something about the humidity in the whole house then to make it good for the instrument. Is that correct?
I am Ra. Yes.
I'm going to come back to a couple of points here, but I have to get in a question here about myself. It would seem to be critical at this point. Can Ra tell me what is physically wrong with me and what's causing it and what I could do to alleviate it?
I'm Ra. The questioner is one also in the midst of further initiation. During this space time, the possibility for mental emotional distortion approaching that which causes the entity to become dysfunctional is marked. Further, the yellow ray chemical vehicle of the questioner is aging and has more difficulty in the absorption of needed minerals such as iron and other substances such as papain, which is from papaya, potassium, and calcium. At the same time, the body of Yellow Ray begins to have more difficulty eliminating trace elements such as aluminum. The energizing effect has occurred in the colon of the questioner, and the distortions in that area are increasingly substantial. Lastly, there is a small area of infection in the mouth of the questioner which needs attention.
Could Ra recommend what I should do to improve my state of health?
I'm Ra. We tread most closely to the law of confusion in this instance, but feel the appropriateness of speaking due to the potential fatal results to the instrument. We pause to give the questioner and the scribe a few moments of space time to aid us by stepping away from those distortions which cause us to invoke the law of confusion. This would be helpful. A few moments pause. I am Ra. We appreciate your attendance. Even confusion on your behalves is helpful. The questioner has, in the recent past, allowed a complete transfer of mental emotional pain from the questioner to the instrument. The key to this deleterious working was when the instrument said words to the effect of the meaning that it would be the questioner and be the strong one. The questioner could be as the instrument small and foolish. The questioner, in full ignorance of the firm intent of the instrument and not grasping the possibility of any such energy transfer, agreed. These two entities have been as one for a timeless period and have manifested this in your spacetime. Thusly, the deleterious working occurred. By agreeing in care and caution, it may be undone. We urge the attention to thanksgiving and harmony on the part of the questioner. We may affirm the previous recommendation in general of the skills and the purity of intention of the one known as Bob, and may note the sympathetic illness which has occurred due to the instrument's sensitivities. Lastly, we may note that the one known as Peter, several aspects of the distortion experienced by the questioner, the instrument, and the scribe may be quite apparent, rather simply transduced to lesser distortions.
What is Peter's last name? I'm not familiar with who he is.
I'm Ra. The name by which this entity chooses to be known is Inman.
Would Ra recommend, let me put it this way, would Ra think that surgery in my case would be of any help?
I, w- uh, I'm Ra. We assume you speak of the colonic indisposition and the potential aid by your chirurgeons. Is this correct?
Yes.
Again, I'm Ra. Please blow across the face and heart of the instrument. This was done as directed. I am Ra. We shall continue. The atmosphere has been meticulously prepared. However, there are those elements which cause difficulty to the instruments. The neurasthenia on the right side of the face being added to the arithmetically energized pain flares. Such an operation would be of aid in the event of the entity chose this physical cleansing as an event which collaborated with changes in the mental, emotional, and physical orientations of the entity. Without the latter choice, the distortion would recur.
Now, summarizing what we can do for the instrument. Through praise and thanksgiving and harmony, we can. Is that all that we can do other than advising her to drink a considerable amount of liquid and moving her into a better atmosphere? Am I correct on that?
I'm Ra. We examine the statement and find two items missing, one important relative to the other. The chief addition is the grasping of the entity's nature. The less important is, for little it may seem to be perhaps helpful, that is, the entity absorbs much medication and finds it useful to feed itself when these substances are ingested. The substitution of substances such as fruit juice for the cookie is recommended, and further, the ingestion of substances containing sucrose, which are not liquid, is not recommended within 4 of your hours before the sleeping period.
My experience with dehumidifiers indicates to me that it will probably be impossible to lower the humidity in that house, much with a dehumidifier, although we can try that. And probably if we do move in there, we'll have to move out very shortly. Is there anything further that need be done to complete the healing of Jim's kidney problem?
I'm Raw. If it be realized that the condition shall linger in potential for some months after the surcease of all medication, then care will be taken and all will continue well. We may note that, for the purposes you intend, the location, address redacted, whether humid or arid, is uncharacteristically well suited. The aggravated present distortions of the instrument having abated due to the lack of acute catalyst, the condition of the location about which the assumption was made is extremely beneficial.
Then the effect of you were saying the effect of the humidity. We will try to get it as low as possible. But you are saying the effect of the humidity is a relatively minor consideration when all the other beneficial factors in are taken in with respect to the Louisville address. Is this correct?
I am raw, yes, and actually, I believe it wasn't the Louisville address; it was in Atlanta.
Mm.
Oh, I guess while we're here, I wanted to mention so that thing they were talking about earlier in the session was where she was singing. She apparently was singing a worship song that had an element of martyrdom, like willing to die for Christ or something. And then so this was kind of an opportunity, an exit point. Um, and then there was another thing, where basically Carla and Dawn, at some point she was like, "Oh, you do my hard stuff, and then I will take your burdens." And so they kind of switched this burden, and then they weren't really actually very good at it. Um, okay. So, anyways, let's go on.
I am quite concerned about the instrument's health at this point and must ask if there is anything I failed to consider with respect to the health of the instrument. Anything at all that we could do for her to improve her condition other than that which has already been recommended?
I'm Raw. All is the most wholeheartedly oriented for support here. Perceive the group as here, a location in time space. Within this true home, keep the light touch, laugh together, and find joy in and with each other. All else is most fully accomplished or planned for accomplishment.
Is it as effective to cleanse the house with salt and water after we move in as it is to do it prior to we move in?
I am Raw. In this case, it is not an urgent metaphysical concern, as timing would be in a less benign and happy atmosphere. One notes the relative simplicity of accomplishing such prior to occupancy. This unimportant except as regard to the catalyst with which you wish to deal.
Can you tell me what the instrument's difficulty was with her last whirlpool?
I'm Raw. The instrument took on the mental emotional nature and distortion complex of the questioner, as we have previously noted. The instrument had been taking the swirling waters at temperatures which are too hot and at rates of vibration which, when compounded by the heat of the swirling waters, bring about the state of light shock, as you would call the distortion. The mind complex has inadequate oxygen in this distorted state and is weakened. In this state, the instrument, having the questioner's distortion without the questioner's strength of the distortion, one might liken to the wearing armor, began to enter into the acute psychotic episode. When the state of shock was past, the symptoms disappeared. The potential remains as the empathic identity has not been relinquished, and both the questioner and instrument live as entities in a portion of the mental emotional complex of the instrument. May we ask for one more full query at this working and remind the instrument that it is appropriate to reserve some small portion of energy before working?
I would just ask if there's anything we can do to help the instrument and make her more comfortable or improve the contact, and what would be the soonest Ra would recommend the next contact. And I would certainly appreciate the return of the Golden Hawk. It gave me great comfort.
I am Ra. You have complete freedom to schedule workings. We suggest the nature of all manifestation to be illusory and functional only insofar as the entity turns from shape and shadow to the One. I am Ra. We leave you, my friends, in the love and glorious light of the One Infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, then, rejoicing in the power and the peace of the One Infinite Creator. Adonai. All right. And I greet you in the love and in the light of the One Infinite Creator. And let us remember to open our hearts with love and kindness for each other, recognizing the divine within ourselves and others as we love and accept each other during our conversation about this Law of One session and any related matters. Okay, so that was actually the last one, and it wasn't too short. Did anyone have any questions about it? That they Go ahead, Amanda.
Did they move from that house then after all that, or is this the new house they're in?
I think if I remember correctly from what Morris and Linda told me, they did move there briefly, but then because Don died there, they kind of like moved back to Louisville after that. Because what they found was that even after they moved to Atlanta, it didn't actually shorten his commute because he had to go through Atlanta and there was a lot of traffic. And so it wasn't actually, there wasn't any benefit from them moving from Louisville in that case. And also,
did they move because of his travels, or?
Yes.
It also seems to me that there was lots of mold in the house or something like that.
No, Dawn was just basically what was happening is that Carla and Dawn agreed to a metaphysical spell, which was extremely non-advantageous. So, where Dawn took on the vulnerability of Carla, and Carla took on his worries, or something like that. And but Carla didn't have the strength to deal with his worries, and Dawn didn't have whatever he needed to deal with her vulnerability. And so they were both in a very bad situation because of this. And he was unfortunately very paranoid near the end there. and he didn't seem to understand that Ra was telling him that everything is fine with that house, just don't like make her sleep in the basement. That's basically what he was saying, and that the upper floors are great. And he kept saying how great it was, but Dawn wasn't understanding. And it was because he was very worried. He was not in that state of all is well and all will be well. He was constantly worried about his job because his company was going under and things like that. Because he was worked as a pilot for a company that was flying out of Atlanta. And so every day he would have to drive from Louisville to Atlanta, which is quite a drive, and then back. And
That's horrible traffic. I've been there.
yeah, but if you're in Atlanta, but I think the airport is outside Atlanta, and so when he drives from Louisville to Atlanta, the traffic is actually like he gets there about as quickly as he would if he lived in Atlanta and had to drive through the Atlanta traffic.
And there was another thing going on back then. That was during the Reagan presidency, and he fired all the air traffic controllers. There was a lot of turmoil in the airline industry at the time too.
Oh yes, yeah. So he had a lot of things to be stressed about. Yeah, I'm gonna put up on this map. So
Yeah, they laid off a whole bunch of NASA people too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I remember that was I remember reading a book that was actually what normalized mass firing. Was it Reagan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Reagan mass firing all of those airport workers set the precedent that it was okay to fire people en masse. Before that, no one ever did such a thing. It was considered horrible and unethical. But then after that, companies were like, well, if Reagan did it, I can do it too. And so they would just start mass firing people from different industries. So yeah, it's always good to think about the potential consequences of one's actions. So yeah, it's a 7-hour drive. Wait, no, that's 6-hour drive from Louisville to Atlanta. Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
at a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a 1-hour flight. Why didn't he just fly there? He was a pilot.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, it's
That, you know what? If you had to do that, you would have to think you'd seriously consider at some point, like maybe learn how to fly a helicopter or something, just get something smaller you can land in your yard.
yeah.
Yeah.
You already fly for a job, you might as well fly on the way home.
That could be why he was really stressing out. He was fracturing. He's like becoming schizo. Yeah. He just didn't know what was going next.
Yeah, but
That was
Carla was
that was
also
pretty.
having issues. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that is just like that's a big piece of the puzzle as to what happened with what's his name, Don, after
Don.
the end of it, how he got so paranoid and what happened with him, But the part there in the chat where it was talking about how Carla's usual meditative practices and healing practices of the swirling waters became almost an inducer of psychotic episodes for her. Due to the fact that neither of them had the capacity. Now, this is a huge lesson for all of us, especially one if you enter into a relationship, which is you're you and they're them. And while we're all one, we're not at the same time. And you need to be you. And that's what service to others is being service to self so you can be of service to others. So don't put service to others above service to self. Because putting service to others above service to self is putting the illusion above the creator, right? But if you stop at service to self, then you deny the rest of reality like that, and you end up sacrificing the rest of reality for the purpose of the creator. And so both of them are the same thing in that respect. And so that was a huge distortion that happened in the format of this whole thing, which is just beautifully punctuated through this chat. And Andre was correct before, where this is a clear one, and it always gets me a little bit emotional because I can hear the suffering of Don. He's like, help me. And Ra's like, dude, law of confusion. But it's okay. It's all one. It's okay. We've been through this hundreds of times now. Don, come on. But, you know, the sacrificial love and like the martyrdom thing, yeah, it all comes together like that.
Well, that's I think a really awesome thing when well, it's the same when you're learning anything, but with this especially, this is such an important thing to learn is not only what you're saying, you're basically balance. It's creating balance, but seeing the missteps taken by other people, and not only seeing it and you're hearing it. Ed's in the house,
Yeah.
and
Hello.
but
Did I miss
we're
stuff?
feeling it.
Am I late?
We're able to actually feel the not only the pain and the sorrow, just that we're feeling the anguish, but we're feeling the love too. You're getting the balance, and we're able to learn a lot from seeing their missteps. We're in a comfortable spot. We're hindsight 2020, you know, X number of years later in the future, going, oh, you know, like we said, I think we've said this before 100 times. It's like watching a movie for the 10th time and going, don't open that door, don't open that, don't go in there, you know, and we have the comfort of being able to do that. They were experiencing it and living it. So, it's just really awesome to see how if all they did was understand that it's going to be okay and it's balance. It's just a balancing act. It's just balancing, and everything is going to be okay. We're all one. But we're separate in our own ways, and just understanding that simple concept of reality would solve almost every one of the problems. How many other problems? Yeah. But how many problems would that solve right now?
For sure.
If people had that understanding.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much all of them.
Fair enough. Here, I found the quote. It's in the initial description here. Asked about Donna's and Carla's difficulties, Ra references Carla's inappropriate use of compassion. Concerns her response to Don's continued worrying about his job, his health, and the continuance of our work. One afternoon, while Don was sharing his worries, Carla simply told him that she would take over those worries for him, and he could do what she usually did, relax, have a good time, and be carefree. Don innocently agreed. The bond of unity between Don and Carla was apparently of such a nature that this simple agreement resulted in a deleterious transfer of energy between them, and this had occurred at a time when both were apparently undergoing an internal process of transformation that is usually called initiation. So basically, she gave him her emotions, and he gave her his worries. And so, if through this just innocent little conversations, so you got to be careful about the contracts you make with people.
So this was happening.
Yeah. Oh, just very quickly, Fred. I like it because it really points out again how, you know, like Don is walking around the place weightlifting, right? And Carla's like, yeah, I can take that for you. But Carla's laying around not weightlifting. You know, I'm not saying that Carla's not worrying or doing, but the weightlifting in reference to their own experience. And nobody knows anybody else's experience. We perceive that we do because it looks like, oh, those are 4 kilogram dumbbells. I can lift them. But he's handed the dumbbells to Carla, and Carla's gone, oh, fuck. You know, that's a lot heavier than I thought it was. You know, that's fully pulled her balance out of alignment because of that excessive energetic weight there. Go ahead, Fred.
But the very last thing that they said in that, I think, is important because what they said was that this happened at a time in their life where they were both going through something that would be considered or called initiation. So they were making that agreement probably in a very elevated energetic state, not understanding exactly how serious that agreement was.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Yeah, and initiation. Yeah, we've covered it before. It's well,
When they went in the pyramid.
yeah. Well, yeah. It's basically like that. There's that Buddha initiation, Buddha and Mara here. Maybe I still have it.
Generally, hello everyone, by the
Go
way.
ahead, Ed.
Sorry
Yep.
I'm so late. Bloody daylight saving times. What a nightmare. I actually thought I was like, yeah, I'm perfectly on time. What?
See you, Susanna.
God damn it. Hello everyone.
I love
Anyway,
you. I'll
so
see you all
initiation
soon.
generally kind
Hey,
of
Ed.
like implies like the first steps that you take after being entered into the mysteries in pretty much whatever mystery school you look at. Like when you first get that kind of glimpse through the veil into the firmament, then that's kind of like the first step towards adepthood. Adepthood being kind of the next, when you actually start using these things you've learnt, in after initiation, and then mastery would be mastering those things. Generally, it's the same kind of scales, whatever magical avenue you go down. Anyway, I love you all, guys. So great to see you all. I love you all.
Thank you. Love you too, Ed.
Yeah, Ed is right. It's basically that same. It's the Jesus in the desert. Like the piercing of the veil is where like the dove came down to Jesus, and then he went to the desert and he was tempted by the devil. And so here the Buddha he was sitting under the fig tree and he became enlightened, and then he was tempted by Mara, and then the first temptation was of Mara's daughters of lustful thoughts and things like this, and then the Buddha was willing to just let that go, and being like, okay, that's fine. You do that if you want, but got my own thing. And then there was the tempting of Mara through violence, physical violence, and or worries, and like desire to end the incarnation. And some people are tempted by this and do not survive initiation because they entered incarnation, like Dawn did. Though Carla managed to survive.
I worked with a girl named Mara, and that kind of sounds like her.
Yeah, well, you can see this pictorial representation here. Yeah. But the idea is that the initiation it's all in the mind. He's just sitting under a tree, but all this other stuff is happening, but it's all in his mind.
And the Theosophical teachings of like 120 years ago, they talked about initiations, and people were living their lives as like first, second, or third degree initiates. And then you go through initiations also when you're doing your path more correctly, however that is.
Yeah, I think that there may be somewhat of a confusion in terms, because there is like an initiation, which is kind of like for group membership. There's a group membership initiation, and so that doesn't necessarily coincide. For Jesus, it coincided because just
well, we're initiating into collective.
Right.
We're being filtered into. We're passing through a filter, and are you going to make it or not into the next level?
Yeah.
Can I just say, with the Golden Dawn kind of rituals that they have for their initiation from neophyte into a zealot grade, I think, basically you have to go through a specific ritual that's supposed to open up all of the different energy centers. That's supposed to connect you to the different elements and to the different kind of archetypical deities that essentially are going to be your guides and are going to be the people that you're going to be able to use to. That's a great book, by the way, Self Initiation, Golden Dawn. Recommend like anyone have a look at that that's really interested. The other one would be the Black Book, which I think is The Complete Golden Dawn by Israel Regardie. That book is just like mind-blowingly awesome. And so much in there, so much of like the occult history of how all these things link together. So much of that links up perfectly with the Law of One. It's like the same story's been told by the Masons and been told by, oh, she's adorable. Oh, hello. Told by the Masons or by like these it's the hidden knowledge that's occult. All of that's been passed down. It's all kind of laid out in the Golden Dawn, the Black Book one. The other one is also the Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Read that. It's got all of this, but when you read it, it's like the occult side of it, stuff that's been hidden from us, is exactly the same as what Ra's been talking about the whole time. So it's like, it all matches up. Yeah, even when you get into kind of the magical Hebrewic stuff, like it all just ties in together, like very neatly, very kind of. But then that makes sense though, because of Don's kind of affiliation with the Golden Dawn anyway.
Yeah.
And like initiation being their first step into understanding the mysteries and kind of start using magic in your life, as it were, and learning the skills that you need to progress. Like that's it's kind of what you're supposed to do after you initiate. But like I said, the actual ritual itself that causes initiation is the thing that's supposed to open up all the things in your mind to be able to then do those things. You know what I mean? Moving forward.
I don't know who it was. If you said it, Ed, or I think it was Robert that said something about Theosophy a little bit ago. Have anyone looked into Helena Blavatsky? And yes, okay. I haven't started to read any of her stuff yet, and I was considering that being a course to go down. How closely tied into Law of One and such? It's pretty much like you're saying about the other stuff, Ed. It's all in line with it. Am I correct?
Okay, so my views on Theosophy is the best things about it is they took all of the different religions and they kind of run it through this same filter, which is once again the Hermetics, the kind of the occult kind of viewpoint, and they did lots and lots of things. Like she had this incredible theory that Buddhas existed across like a huge chunk of the world, and she was really kind of big believer that Odin was a Buddha, which is really weird because when you start actually looking at kind of the Viking kind of actual beliefs, not instead of like not all the war stuff, but the actual kind of the religious part of it, loads of their deities are like very, very comparable to like the devas in Buddhism or Hinduism. It's really weird. So she had this. She I have to say, to the modern mind, reading Helena Blavatsky is like horrifically racist. Like she really, she has a whole thing like like black people cannot do magic, no matter how hard they try. The white people are the most evolved race. We are the ones that are going to lead the world magically into the future. She's
Let's not give people too many out of context clips.
seriously though, it hasn't aged well. I'm just saying,
Well,
when you start looking like that.
well, I
But
wanted to say
loads
one
of other
good.
stuff she says is amazing. The comparisons between everything, how she ties in all of the Christian theology and Western occult philosophy in with Hinduism and with Buddhism and the kind of Eastern things. Don't agree with all of it, but The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, I'd recommend unbelievably. Yes.
Unveiled. Yeah, I heard about Isis Unveiled.
Yeah, Isis Unveiled was like a first book. The Secret Doctrine goes like a lot bigger. There's lots of bits in that go a bit sketch and like shows where the wall got pulled over her eyes a bit, but still incredible reads. Isis Secret Doctrine is massive though. It's fucking hard work, to be fair.
Yeah, and a treatise on cosmic fire by Alice A. Bailey. You've got to throw that in after those two.
So
Yeah, then you've got a huge library of Rudolf Steiner and like Edgar Casey. There's loads of them to get into. What's the other one? Charles, the psychic guy.
Ledbetter.
Yeah, Ledbetter. That guy. He was weird, but awesome. Once again, books are amazing.
so
Yeah, the Theosophy. I'm sorry, Andrea. I'd say the Theosophical stuff. I studied. Yeah, I see that. I studied that for a couple years, and the overall what I got out of it was there's a demand for hierarchy in that teaching, and I don't like that. I don't like the demand for hierarchy. So that's what I'll want to leave my statement on theosophy.
I agree. Sorry, Andre, but like I kind of find a lot of it is kind of spiritually fascist.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
don't believe this exact thing, then there is no hope for you to ever do anything.
Bible
I
thumping fundamentalist kind of feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hitting that on a thread on Facebook, and I refrain from saying the behavior you exhibit is one of the reasons that kept me from returning to church. A bishop, Carlton Pearson, passed on November 1st. He left. He moved. I would say he expanded beyond Christianity. That's for me. That's the best way to put it. He felt that God was showing him that hell is something of your own making. That's what led him into a more, that, and he had somebody in his family who was gay, and that's just the way he was. And I know he ended up working with Michael Beckwith, who's in the metaphysical side of things. But there were people on there going, well, he distorted the word of God, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, the guy died, and you can't act like Jesus and show kindness and compassion to those who are experiencing this loss. You're too busy beating people, because somebody actually was trying to jump my case. And I was like, you're too busy beating people over the head with a book to demonstrate what Christ was about, because this was not what Christ was about.
So yeah, I wanted to mention one good thing that I know about Theosophy was that because they wanted to make this syncretic, all of these faiths and stuff, they actually went to Thailand and they wanted to find out what Buddhism was about. But at the time, Buddhism was extremely disparate. It had been hundreds of years since anyone had even compiled together or knew what their scriptures were, and so they actually went around to different temples, and then they got like the little bits of scripture that they all had, and they put it together into the Tripitaka. Like they managed to compile the foundational text of Buddhism from the fragments that remained in the different temples and monasteries.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so the Theosophists did that. But yeah, I do agree that they had an issue with hierarchy. Like they had a Great White Brotherhood, which is very racist sounding. But and then that's like those are the elites, and then everyone is like subservient to them. But and what we know from the Confederation material is that basically service to others are flat. They're not a hierarchy because they recognize the divine within everybody, and so everybody has valid input, and everyone's free will needs to be respected. And
I prefer the term circle instead of flat.
circle, sure, or sphere.
Now, and you mentioned that the gathering together of Buddha's teachings, the Alice A. Bailey teachings, which were a spin-off of Blavatsky, they were attributed to the channelings of a Tibetan master by the name of Djwhal Khul.
Are you talking about the Aaron Kuo dialogues, or who?
No, the Alice A. Bailey books are like a channel.
Dude, send me a link to that, man. I haven't read that. Send me that. I want that.
Of Alice Bailey?
Yeah, like seriously, send me a
That's
link.
easy to get.
That needs
Easy
to go
to
in my
get.
brain.
Lucas Trust. Lucis. Lucas.
Okay, I need to come off of this. I'll write it down. I do it old school with a pen.
Isn't that the Lucius Trust?
Lucius.
It's supposed to be Lucifer. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a tribute to Lucifer, but they tamed it down to Lucis. Yeah.
Now,
Can I
everybody
just say,
should
if
be-
you're
everybody-
going to go into that, oh
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Sudi.
I was just going to say everybody should be aware that Lucifer is a group soul mind complex, apparently, just like Ra. They're friends, of course, just like we all are. Yeah, so that's fascinating.
But they like hierarchy. They have hierarchy because that's a form of control. Enslavement only happens in hierarchies.
Isn't everything in the Orion group hierarchical?
I don't think so.
That's kind of how I viewed the whole Orion group complex, the whole service to self complex. If it's not hierarchical,
But
then
it is
predominantly yes.
Yeah.
Almost all. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they go, it's hierarchical in every aspect.
Yeah.
They have some really dark magic, which they are separate from everything.
So, yeah, they have the their hierarchies. They have full hierarchies in their fourth density, and they go all the way up to the fifth density. With fifth density, so I remember there was some whistleblower like Michael Sala or Corey Good or something, and then they were saying how like the top fourth density reptilian was like my master or something, like saying, oh, my masters will get you for this or something, and they're like, oh, this guy has a higher up. I thought he was the highest up in the solar system, but that they have fifth density entities who are above them.
Does that sound like a conflict of philosophy, I guess? When you look at as above, so below, that becomes hierarchical in some ways.
It could. I mean, it depends on how you interpret it.
I know, but that's sort of how it began, because Theosophy, they believe, as above, so below. That's a strong note within that song.
It's a huge part of Hermetics, whichever way you play it.
Yeah, and yet the hierarchical thinking pops in because of the need for control, I guess. Yeah, like you're saying, the Orions. With the Orions, you have to be compassionate because they're a little further away from the center of the galaxy than we are.
Right, which makes them more service to self, because the farther you get from the center, the more service to self they tend to be.
That's the way it seems. That's the way
the Confederation says this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know when we had a discussion, and it was like, it's also the farther you get away from the equator. All of the colonial powers are all really far from the equator. Like Britain.
Wow.
I don't want to sound like a dick, but there is actual kind of real genetic reasons for that too. Yeah, we chased an ice age up the planet. That means we lost lots of unneeded DNA, which kind of, not to agree with Blavatsky or anything, but kind of, made us better.
Isn't there only there's on the equator itself though? There's 15% landmass or something. It's just it's a band of water.
Okay, so something I was going to say quickly about the Lucifer thing, with the Theosophy. One of the best books in that kind of lot, I'd say, is Rudolf Steiner's the Occult History or something like that. A Book of Occult History, I think it's called. Is that you typing that in?
Which Rudolf Steiner?
I can see on the screen. Rudolf Steiner. I think it's called the Book of Occult History or something like that. See if it comes up. On the history of the history. I don't know. I'll try and find a link if not, and I'll post it on the thing. But in that he describes how basically we are all on Earth part Luciferian soul, as it were. So in Theosophy, when they talk about Lucifer and the company name, whatever else, they kind of see it as part of us, and that essentially that Luciferian thing is the thing that should be driving us to. Oh, is that's something like that?
outline of
Occult
occult
science? Yeah,
science.
that might be it. That might be the one. Yeah,
Hmm.
that could be it. But yeah, he kind of explains in like the history part of it that yeah, that is definitely the one. Yes.
Hmm.
That we are what we are because of the Luciferian influence. It's the effect on us is us eating the apple, and basically it's the thing that is going to drive us to get back, which is weird because it kind of ties in with what the hidden hand said.
Hmm.
Right, right, right. It does. And look at it this way also. You're talking about Lucifer, and then we have to look at what planet is considered Luciferian as far as an astrological influence, and you get to Saturn. And Saturn was the edge of the visible solar system. So it was the furthest known object in our solar system for a long time. And because it was on the edge, that meant anything incoming going towards Earth had to pass through the sphere of Saturnian influence. So anything that enters into the Earth area is under the influence of Lucifer just by the mere fact of it being here.
Yeah. There's a council of Saturn, which is often
It's also has to pass
Great.
through the influence of all the planets, and doesn't Tom of the Nine and the Council of the Nine that kind of run the metaphysical side of our solar system, don't they live on Saturn?
Why
Didn't
not?
Ra need to ask permission from the Council of
yes,
Saturn
yes, the
to
council
even
of
come
Saturn.
here to do
Yes.
it?
I was talking about the ancient humans that could only see as far as Saturn.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because that was
That was the
Kronos.
edge.
That was like like I love the whole story of kind of like he was the father of all the planets, and then he got a what is he got told the future about how one of his kids was going to usurp him and take all of his power, so he ate all of his children. And then when it got to Jupiter, they replaced Jupiter with a bag of rocks, which is why crystals have power. And then essentially, Jupiter was allowed to grow up and get big and strong. And he came back and was like, "Right, Dad, you've been like totally out of order, eating all my brothers and sisters and stuff. So you got to stop it." And then like his dad puked up all the other planets. Uh, they were then were like, "Oh, thank you," and they were like, "Saturn, you've got to go right to the end of the universe, or the solar system over there, and you're only allowed to come back when you've realized what you did wrong." And that basically is a story of Saturn on the top of the Hermetic tree. Oh, where is it?
Isn't there somebody in the UK that channels the Council of Nine?
So
They are.
at the top of the
Yeah, I
tree,
think it's
you've
Council of
got
Saturn is the
Saturn.
Council of Nine.
Yeah, so Saturn's basically like the the top of the tree. So that's like knowledge, yeah, right. But then in order to get like to like wisdom, you've got to go through like understanding, right? So knowledge is what he had. He had the knowledge that he was going to get usurped by his kids, so he ate all the kids because he didn't know what to do because he didn't have the wisdom to know that that was going to cause it. So then, by the understanding of what he does, he can then get the wisdom, which is then what he comes back being the Saturn of Nine nowadays, the Council of Nine nowadays, actually looking after us and being like fathers rather than being evil planet eating Kronos monsters.
Well, I just wanted to point out that that's typical thing. If whenever you follow your fear, you always get that which you fear, and that's just the service to self path. It's like you're afraid of it, you're gonna get it. If you start following that fear, so if instead you can turn to the path of gratitude and joy, and start being grateful for what you have, and then you can have more of what you have, and help things grow. Like you have a little seed of something, You can be grateful for that and help it grow into a plant. And
that's why the council is on the rings of Saturn, enabled to be in control of the orb of Saturn.
Well, I think that's also partially something else that we can't even conceive of in any level of our reality. So I would suggest that the Earth is a lot bigger than the upper levels of our atmosphere. And I would suggest Saturn extends beyond the rings. But we can't see 99.99999% of reality. Even with our electrical telescopes and everything, that drops it down to about 99% of reality, right? So you still can't see what is actually there. It looks like a circle with rings around it. The rings look like they're circles, but there's no straight lines, there's no curves, there's no actual physical matter for reality. So what are you looking at there?
so
Definitely not what you're actually looking at with your eyes, because that's an interpretation of the information.
And it's
I've
yours.
got a like little guess at just looking at that there, right? Now, if it is how we think that a torus field works, right, where from the pole, yeah, you get the thing coming up, yeah, then essentially, yeah, a torus field is two fields, isn't it, connected via the 0 point in the middle, yeah, which would then give you the projection layer between the two torus fields, which would be the lines, which would be the rings. So
And
really,
that's the only part of reality that I see is three
but
parts
this
of
is it, right?
reality.
You can the matter still lines up to the shape of the torus field, with
Yes.
the central point being the part you beam out. But
Yes.
all we can see is the matter lining up around that energy, about that energy center on the field.
Again, that's what we perceive, but we can't actually verifiably factually prove that. Yeah.
Right. Andre, can you find the south pole of Saturn picture, please?
Here, I wanted to first explain that there are multiple moons in the rings of Saturn. One of the biggest is Enceladus, and see, it has its own ring. So it could be that the Council of Saturn is on one of these planets that is within the rings. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So you wanted to the Saturn.
The south pole. Yeah.
South pole.
Yeah, Ed.
Hexagram.
You see, whenever I see like an infrared picture, like Andre was showing about with the Saturn with the rings, I get what you're saying about the torsion field, but what I see instead of the center of it being the planet, it looks to me like the center of Saturn would be the opening of the end of one end of the torsion field, and the other half is probably the opposite of the matter on Saturn, creating the opposite pole of the torsion field. We just can't see it at all.
And there's the six-sided figure on the pole of Saturn.
Yeah.
The black cube.
The six of the 666, Lucifer.
Oh, come on! We should all know this by now. It is a hexagon, yes, but a hexagon is a cube. It's also a sphere, right? It's both in one. It just depends on where you're looking at it, how you look at the hexagon. It's a flower of life. A flower of life is not the daisy of death, right? It is if you freeze it and don't give it any life, that's dead. But if the flower of life is a representation of an energetic circuit that is constantly in motion and in life. So again, what we perceive of as the flower of life, what we perceive of as a hexagon, is a limited factor of reality there. It's both. Of course.
If we're looking at that being the South Pole, yeah, and we're saying that, from the South Pole you get one field projected that then reacts off another field, giving you that central point of zero energy with two torus fields creating one in like intrinsic field. Wouldn't it be a good guess that the actual entry or exit point would look like a macabre field?
But back to Lucifer and the fact that in the Christianity world, Lucifer and Satan are synonyms. There was something on one of the channels I watch off of Samsung TV Plus that was talking about Sumerian texts and things like that. And they pointed out that Satan, which is really the correct pronunciation, is in fact just an administrator. Not even Lucifer.
Well, I know that
He was a lawyer.
uh, Satan is actually um, the original word in Hebrew or Greek or whatever was adversary. So it just means adversary or enemy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe some people call that their lawyer, but that was the original. It was just adversary, and then the Confederation of Planets basically says Lucifer is the light bringer, and is the it's an archetype.
Yeah.
So it's the devil card, which is basically, and it's an illusion. It's a shadow.
Yeah, the devil part's inside you. The devil part's inside all of us. It's the act of separation from oneness, right? You know, anything that we do can be inspired by the devil if it takes you away from, you know, the path. You really, isn't it? You know, Lucifer is more like there to kind of show you there is a path.
Yeah, it's the matrix of the spirit.
Yeah, I like to think of that one as like, you know, when we're born here, we're born into the world of the devil. We don't know that there's a God. You need to find that stuff. You don't know that any of those stuff exists. All you've got is this material illusion.
Exactly. You just see, that's exactly why they say you're born into, you have to pass through Saturn to get here. I mean, it's, you are in the illusion. It's just that, yeah, exactly.
It's weird we're talking about Theosophy and the planetary spheres and that, because one of my favorite things that Blavatsky ever said was, she said that, you know, the Hermetic tree's got all the planets on it, right? And she said that basically you come in from the central sun or the cosmic whatever, and you come in a beam of light that comes down towards Earth, towards where you're going to be going to the egg or whatever. And then the exact angle by which you pass through where Saturn is, where Mars is, where Jupiter is, on your way through the space towards Earth, is what then influences the spirit to give you like the distortions that you then wake up with as a baby. So it's the veiling process in some way or whatever is influenced by the different planets, so that when you come out here, you're who you are. And that's kind of how astrology works, because you have all those variable parts of you in you, because that was the course you went down, and you can follow the Hermetic tree back upwards by the planetary influences that you went through on your way down towards the planet. So that's really awesome way of viewing it.
So I found a really nice quote on this Lucifer and Devil stuff. This is from Latwi from 1980-0525. We do not have the sentimental hatred for evil, as you call it, that those among your people do when they speak of evil. That which Lucifer has become, that is, the devil, we find evil useful because it delineates the good, giving you the choice that makes you learn. You have only to be conscious that you have that choice in order to have a great head start upon vibrating always toward the positive, towards love. Because of this, you may well suffer. However, each tear that you let fall is gold, for you learn as you grow, and with each trial you become more able to be above good and evil, and so that you seek only the Creator.
Oh my God, that way just fully confirmed the hidden hand.
Okay.
We're thinking alike here. It's scary, Ed.
I'm sorry, that is. He just said
Yeah.
it.
I missed that. What was that?
Sweet dog.
Did you want
Send me the link in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat. Okay. So, yeah, basically that it delineates good and evil. And so for instance, I have a person I know, and they had started going to a church, and then eventually they figured out that that church was evil. And before they were kind of lukewarm, and they were like, oh, this is just regular church, and all churches must be good. But then and then they had the experience of a good church where people are actually just kind and love one another. And but without that contrast, they wouldn't know how good the good church is, without having been to the evil church, which is all about fear, anger, and control of the congregation. You know, and so it's here because we find evil useful because it delineates the good, giving you the choice that makes you learn. And only you have only to be conscious that you have that choice in order to have a great head start upon vibrating always towards the positive, towards love. And because of this, you may well suffer. However, each tear you let fall is gold as you learn to grow. And so, like, when we know the choice, we're very, very privileged in the fact that we know about there is a choice. Many people have no idea. They have no idea there's a choice. They're just trying to satisfy the illusion. It's like the illusion told me go get a job, go make money, go die. They just doing what they're told. They don't realize they have a choice. Oh, I can be compassionate, or I can use fear, anger, control. I can use love, kindness, acceptance, and I can decide on love, kindness, acceptance for all my catalysts.
They never make it past the devil being the matrix for the spirit.
Right, exactly. It doesn't turn into the rest like it. Well, there's the tower, which is
the tower is all of your belief in the material world falling to bits around you, and you being happy about it. Look at the guy's smiley face.
Well, yeah. So basically, the spirit, the matrix of the spirit is new information. It's Lucifer is the light bringer. Lucifer brings new information that destroys the old information, the old worldview, and that's why it's the destruction or lightning. It's the destruction of the old worldview, and then there is the birth of the new, and then there's the experience, which is that all is an illusion, and then the experience becomes part of the soul as the significator, and then that transforms the soul and changes your outlook on the world.
There's something I always like to help people with the Tower card, and I actually say it in the Law of One really well. That the focus of the Tower card is not the tower or the physical reality; it's actually the lightning. Is the emphasis, the flash of sudden feminine energy within an established, perceived structure, which is usually a physical structure because that's what we think is real, i.e., a tower or some sort of building. And then that destabilizes that because, like Ed said, everybody gets focused on Satan and the Matrix, right? And so they need to be shaken from their foundations from the sudden injection of feminine energy in order to be able to see that they've been going down the path of evil, which delineates them back onto the path of equality between the two of them. Once the dust settles from the destruction of the tower, it's clear that you can see the both of them then at the same time, because one is not trying to tower over the other. They're both now reduced to the same.
But that's kind of what the hidden hand says, right?
That's what my channeling on my YouTube is about. It's all about the negative, but in a positive aspect, to show that we need to love and embrace the negative. We don't perpetuate negativity, but we embrace and love it all the same.
Middle pillar, dude. Just don't get caught in that sinkhole.
At least let them know you appreciate their efforts and they're doing a good job or whatever they're up to.
Well, clearly, otherwise we wouldn't have computers and telephones. These are all what we would call service to self. Like the internet was released as a military tool, and now it's been released to the public, and so it's gone from left brain.
And then instantly just was used for porn.
Yeah.
The first profitable website was porn.
Which is actually a show of humanity's attempt at their desire to connect, but they're stuck behind social conformity and the illusions of what they can and can't do. So they try to then shadow release that in the closed confinements of their private environment as if it's some sort of secret or taboo.
Yeah.
But again,
you say the same thing about war.
Exactly. Well, these negatives really show how we are all about love and connection.
The connection, having experienced pre-internet days, which some of you are, it's more of a dim memory for you, but I remember having to look something up and you have to go to a library, and it could be like 2 weeks before you find the answer you want. I mean, you're just looking and looking, and what the hell? And now, bada bing, 10 seconds, I've got an answer. I don't know if it's right or not, but you know, it's just, there's an answer there. And
millions
the
of answers.
the way the collective was brought together, we were more unified, because before it was like a scatter, a shotgun. I hope I hit something. And now you can shoot with a very accurate, piercing bullet, just one right at it. It's amazing. Yeah, we've weaponized it in a sense. Yeah, we're more unified, though. It's a lovely thing. It's beautiful how more unified we really are. And if only the U.S. would embrace the metric system, we'd have less fear about that.
Yeah. Metric system's easier.
It is. And I think the United States is holding the world back by not accepting the metric system.
Well,
it's like it's a mechanism for control. It is.
Because we are rebelling against the Queen.
Well, the king now.
There you go.
Well,
The
World traitors.
That's only on one level, though. Then there's the levels above that, which...
I mean, that's the whole reason why homeopathy isn't that big here, is because we were rejecting things from Great Britain.
Yeah, we did escape.
That's why we force our dollar on everyone.
What?
It's why we force our dollar on everyone.
Yeah.
You know, everything's run by the dollar, and then they go, you know, and flip out when they want to change commodities to some other national currency, like, you know, whatever.
That's why the U.S. invaded Libya and killed Gaddafi. Because
I don't know about that.
He tried to go on the gold standard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was going to set up. He was going to set up an African centralized bank, levied on their natural minerals and deposits and shit, and all of the and that would have completely smashed the entire world's economy. Like,
I know,
so much richer than everyone else.
Just before the U.S. invaded.
Can I just say, the thing that people forget about America is America, you know, you say all about democracy and everything else, but America is basically the country of Masons. Yeah, that's how you've got to view it. You know, America was set up by Freemasons. Yeah, there's no democracy ever when everyone's a Mason. And check how many of your presidents haven't been Masons. That's just silly.
It's true.
And
so you've got to view it that America was set up under the Constitution of Masons. What hope did it ever have of being good? I'm joking.
Under the veil of Christianity.
And a large percentage of American presidents were left-handed, more than the general population percentage-wise. And what's the Latin word for left hand in Old Latin? Sinister.
Sinister, really? Wow.
Yeah.
The left-hand path, right?
Yes.
But actually, no, Desiree's right. It's actually set up originally to be a republic. This is not supposed to be a democracy. Democracy is the perverted form of the original intention of our framework. That it's not supposed to be a democracy. Democracies don't work. Rome proved that. You know, you can't have democracy that way. You have to have a representative republic. And that's exactly the way, if you read the Constitution, that's what it's supposed to be. It's perverted now.
I agree. But all of this, every single political ploy you want to use involved in this was all Masons, 2 Masons, 4 Masons, by Masons.
Well, regardless of who
it doesn't matter
it was,
what side you're voting for or who you think is running whatever. The Masons are an organization that are over the whole world that connected to everything.
Right.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter who is sitting on the chair. The people that run it are the Masons.
regardless of who was involved, the organization involved, what has happened is the power grabbing service to self, the negative polarity, has kept charge regardless. I mean, we fought wars to get out of it and then ends up flipping back up. And now finally it's coming to the point with all of the things that the negative has done to keep the power just keeps getting balanced and balanced and just like what we've been saying with the internet. The internet was invented for negative reasons for the military to use it as a control mechanism. And then the first thing we do with it is somebody's making porn with it. Well, that's negative. And what's happened? It's balanced. And here we are today. We're sitting here talking about, on opposite ends of the earth, all coming together for positive things. It's balancing. It no matter how it starts, negative, it balances. So it's interesting to watch it play out. And it just makes me glad that I'm in a position where we can look back on hindsight being 2020, where we can say, okay, it was this group and it was these people that did this and did that, and this is what they were really doing, and now look at what's happened, and look at that and unravel it and go, wow, look at the shit show they've made for themselves. Well, it's not going to end the way they planned it out in the beginning, and continue from there. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're going to be doing all week.
There's a show on, I think it's on Netflix or Prime. It's called The Family. And it talks about how a group of men, Christian, control almost everything. It's really interesting. It's a documentary. It's super interesting. Gotta watch it.
Well,
What's it called again?
The Family.
Just The Family.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Andre.
So yeah, I got several quotes here, but this one's on politics here. The practice of politics is, shall we say, not designed to create such opportunities for positive polarity, but rather such practice as those of a politician may well lead to service to self energies being fairly freely encouraged under the guise of helping groups of people for their own good. Whenever there's anything done for someone else's good, that's service to self. Just so you know, like that's a red flag. Oh, I need to do this for their own good. That's service to self. That's not service to others. That's not good.
It's just like all those people who were complaining about how Carlton Pearson, blah blah blah, and ran away and distorted and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, you're the reason why I don't go back to church.
Isn't that what Ross said about Roosevelt's presidency when he got ill because of something? He was originally doing it super service to others, and then something changed. I can't remember. Do you know what I mean, Andre?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
World War II.
I can't remember what session it was about Roosevelt. Ra was talking about Roosevelt.
I believe this is the one. When this particular imbalance becomes marked enough with this entity's incarnation, it then chose subconsciously to create for itself a situation within which it would be more able to do inner work and less able to have a breadth and fast pace of social activity. And that's why, he was bound to a wheelchair. This did indeed, in this particular entity's case, work well and created the possibility of much good work in balancing the distortions of having to do with the right use of power. When a severe illness comes to one unexpectedly, it certainly is appropriate to question carefully all of these possibilities and many others not. So yeah, that's why he had that severe illness, was so that he wouldn't do too much service to self socializing. And we'll focus more on the service to others aspect.
And he was a well-loved.
He got a little bit of compassion.
What was that?
3 terms.
He got sick and then he got a little bit of compassion.
Yeah, I know there is.
Benny, can you put yourself on mute, please, bro?
Spin
Benny.
top.
Yo,
Dude, you alright?
Okay, yeah, thanks. There's also another one that talks about how our politics makes us spin like a top. That I was looking for.
They called it spin control in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
it's basically saying that our problem is that we have too few people controlling too many, and that we need to instead have systems where, like, so I made a system based on the recommendation of the Confederation of Planets. And so it's like a family to planetary organization. So a family would be like a team of 6. It doesn't have to be like a biological family. And then where were we? Okay, so then you got 2 adults, 2 to 6 children. Like you got 6 hectares or whatever, enough land to grow your own food, and then you got a commune or church or a mosque or temple or synagogue or whatever you want to call it, with 10 families or about 60 people, and then each family has its own like leader that they elect amongst themselves to be the representative at the commune or the church for the commune meetings, and then your commune or whatever sends one of a commune leader to your village council, and the village council has 6 communes or churches or whatever, and so you're always working with a small number.
I gave Michael his pills.
And then with the neighborhood, you've got 14 village leaders, and then a city's got 11 neighborhoods, and a county's got 13 cities, and a province has 6 counties, and a country's got 5 oblasts or 5 provinces, states, whatever you want to call it, and a union has got multiple countries. Oh, I didn't write down how many. And then a continental continental power like Russia would have 17 unions up to, or something like that. And then the planet would be comprised of multiple continental powers. And so,
Can I just say, I believe anarchistic libertarianism is the way forward. Literally, you don't need any kind of governance. You just need everybody working towards the same cause. Yeah, so everybody respecting everybody else, everybody working towards something better, everyone chipping in or doing whatever, but then everyone having enough to support themselves and to live however they choose to live, and that the society should support those people, and everything should run in a way that people would want to do the things that they need to do to keep themselves alive, and on a greater sense to make things better for the rest of humanity, without the need of somebody telling them, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, pay me. Yeah,
yes.
like I need to control you. None of that's needed. Yeah, and realistically, it should come down to each individual to look after themselves, to grow, to put into whatever, not in like a commie way, but in a spiritual, because we're all in this together, social memory complex kind of way. Yeah, but also that it all comes down to each person to kind of protect and look after themselves. So
Exactly.
I think that everyone should have their own way of being able to know securely that they are safe in their own whatever. If that means they have to like have a machine gun strapped to them all the time, so be it. Till human beings learn to live the right way, it might be a realistic possibility. But we don't need governance. We don't need laws. We don't need these things. What we need is a better social sense across the board for people in general. Anyway, that's my little social
I
rant. I
agree.
do apologize. Love you guys.
I agree.
I
If
agree,
people
Ed,
would
but
think for themselves, it wouldn't be possible, or that would be possible if people could think for themselves. The problem is that people give too much of their individual power to other people, entities, whatever, and believe what's told, or just kind of go with the flow, or ignorant to what's going on. But then again, I say you got to take some self responsibility for what's going on, because you are an individual with a mind, and you're allowing others and different things to control you, what you think, how you react, and so on and so forth. Hence, why things are the way they are. You're absolutely right. We don't need a government in that sense. If we all had some damn sense and could think for ourselves, and just the bare minimal of, hey, let's not kill everybody, love each other, whatever, we would be fine. But
Well, we would also need to have enough land for every person to grow their own food and firewood. And Oh well, we would need some kind of organization, but I do agree with what Ed was saying, that we can't have a government telling people what to do, and so here it says, rooted in the principle of subsidiarity, communities first seek internal resolutions, escalating to higher tiers only when necessary. So basically, everything that a higher tier would give you is at most a recommendation. Um, but yeah, it's like this is based on what do you call it? God-given human rights.
well, at the end of the day, the government is supposed to work for the people, not the other way
right,
around.
and so this is kind of trying to bring that back, because if, say, for instance, you're being mean to your family, they can rescind their vote for you, and then you will stop being the world leader. you know, because it's of how it works, is that first your family elects you, and then your church elects you, and then like of all the family leaders, and then the village, of all
Dude,
the
that's just
I don't think
popularity
church
games.
should even be a part of it.
well,
Hey, can I just say, right? Has anyone ever heard of an Ostrakon?
Say
I
it
It's,
have,
again.
it's
but I
like the
don't
root.
know.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah, I've
the
heard
root.
of
ostracized. Yeah.
It's the root of the word ostracize. Yeah, so apparently it comes down to people would write the name of someone they didn't like on like a little tile, and then every year you could give in your tile, and then if the person's name came up the most, then they were basically banished from the town, and you were ostracized, and you weren't allowed back into the town for 10 years. So
Well, it wasn't just random people, though. I mean, they would have
no, yeah.
they would have like an election process where we're going to put Trevor up on the stand, and you're going to vote on whether he stays in the community or not. And yeah, and you'd take a broken piece of pottery, and you would use that as your vote, and nobody would know who that pottery came from, because each one was either light or dark. And you would put, like, if you didn't like Trevor, you'd put in a dark piece of pottery saying you wanted to get rid of the guy. But if you loved Trevor, you'd put in a light colored piece, so they would just count the light or dark pieces. And hopefully Trevor's not ostracized.
Just saying, if you were going to have a system, yeah, where you elected people to kind of run the place, why not have a system where you can elect who you kick out?
Yeah.
It's just that
So popularity, though.
well, the idea.
Can I just say, I'd live on my own anyway. Fuck you guys.
the idea is to have human rights, and then that way you don't have such issues, like there's the right to land and housing, and because you just have that fundamental right, you have your land, nobody can kick you off of your land, and I mean they may make it difficult for you, and you may decide to appeal to a higher organization, under the principle of subsidiarity, to, hey, like, my church or my temple or whatever doesn't like me, like, say, for instance, Desiree, well, she says she doesn't like church, right? So I mean, that's why I call it a commune or mosque or whatever you want to call it, but it could be like a law of one group, law of one temple, of groups of like-minded people that get together every Friday.
You're talking about City Hall.
Talk about
talking about politics.
I didn't say I didn't like
said
church,
that
by the
before
way.
here,
Oh.
Andre. It was called the Davidian Cult Complex in Waco, Texas. I'm kidding.
Well, there was
No.
there was that Davidian. Yes, but
Yeah, that's
it was a
south of
cult.
me, by the way.
What makes it a cult is that he had the absolute authority there. They didn't have elections. He whatever he said went, right? And so you know, if people wanted to live in that, you know, they have free will. But certainly I wouldn't. And that there's lots of churches where it's much more benevolent, like the Anabaptists. Well, some of them, at least the Mennonite church I go to is very benevolent.
I don't think church should be involved in any type of government and stuff like that because it still fosters separation if all people don't believe in the same thing. Also, I don't dislike churches. I have to make that quite clear. What your beliefs are and whatever else, I don't care. I love good. I love you, whatever. But um yeah, I think it fosters more separation, and I think that it also limits the mind of knowing like you can still connect and be one with your God, infinite creator, whatever it is, without having to go to church and follow a set of rules that man sits there and tries to tell you that you need to do. I mean, I've been to so many churches. First of all, I was Catholic. Is mainly what I am. And then I went to different churches throughout as growing up and moving and whatever else. And some like, oh, I couldn't dress a certain way. Some I couldn't watch TV. Some I couldn't do this and that. I just think it's ridiculous all these other constraints that a church is putting on me. And I'm not going to say it's God putting it on me because God ain't there, the one telling me. A person is a human being. And again, just regardless, I don't think church should be involved in anything that church and state should be separate. Period.
Forest is my
That's what.
church.
So the idea is to link between the family and the team, around 6 people.
But everybody would have to
with
be
the
religious
village.
in that sense. Who chooses? Yeah, so you're going to have villages separate still by specific church. It still fosters separation. That's not what we need.
So you have a family, and you have other neighbors that are living next to you.
Uh-huh.
And now, how do you ever meet your neighbors?
You go and talk to them, you knock on the door, bring over a pie. I don't know. You do the same thing that everybody else does. Like, why? It doesn't mean you have to meet them at church. And then what if they're not the same as you or the other person?
Yeah,
What if one's Muslim, one's Christian?
Yeah,
Where are they going to meet?
And certainly, so you could have a multi-faith gathering place. It doesn't have. That's why I call it a commune. It's just the
So why not just have a city town hall where everybody meets, where religion isn't even the main aspect of it all? So it takes away that very I'm telling you, it fosters this separation. I don't understand why. Like, it really does. It shouldn't even be a question in there. It shouldn't even be part. It doesn't have to be part of it at all. Great, you're of faith. You're of faith. Wonderful. Let's meet at our little city town hall thing there and have these conversations that don't have anything to do with religion at all. So therefore, there is no separation. But hey, have your churches, have your mosque, your synagogue, whatever, everything there, so everybody can practice as they want. But leave it out of those specific decisions.
The big issue that we get with some in the different faiths is they are so insecure in who they are that they can't allow you to be secure in who you are.
Good point.
So the main issue is that it simply becomes too many people. Even at a village which has 360 people, you cannot physically know everybody.
Yeah.
So you hold on though, but you were saying like, how do they meet? So you're saying like meet at your church or something, right? So why can't you have a town hall, a town meeting place that just literally that takes just that out of it, so that every person there are just people. They're just individuals.
The size is the difference.
Okay, well then. Okay, so your church, but a church doesn't change that. A church is still, you're going to have the same amount of people.
Make a really, really big pub.
Well, you could call it a pub if you want.
Can I
Would a
suggest?
church be able to facilitate? Would a church be able to facilitate, make sure that you meet all your neighbors? Like, say, or are you saying like in your town you all are of the same faith?
So in your village, you would have 6 communes or 6 churches.
Okay.
And you go to whichever one you want.
Okay, which is fine.
Within walking distance. That's the point.
Yeah, great. But no, okay, but what I'm saying is you just said that it wouldn't be big enough for you to meet everyone. So if you just go to your church and say out of the 6, rest of your neighbors are all split up between all of them, how do you still meet all your neighbors then?
So you have a church leader.
What's that?
and the church leader goes to the village council.
But that's your leader who's meeting them, not you.
Well, he's only meeting the other leaders.
I gotta head off.
It's to have peace
Have a great day.
between the churches.
Dude,
and
dude,
the
I love
village.
you.
Oh, okay, love
Love
you.
you.
Nice seeing you guys.
Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for joining us.
Nice, Trevor, Sheree.
So yeah, the
Man, this thing keeps changing. Yes, for peace. I just think that why can't we just make that decision to just be peaceful amongst each other?
that would be good.
And I
but-
wasn't talking about that. I was referring to the church and state between making rules and everything else and keeping church out of it. That was my whole argument on the thing, period, because I just think that it causes more separation. But even that does, though, where you guys have to come together to discuss that. Like, come on, people. Why can't we just not, like, just love each other? Who cares what each other's thing is? And just be whatever. Like,
Andre,
we don't have to.
Very true.
Andre, I hate to.
Excuse me.
Well, I hate to point this out, but everything you just
just gotta
said and lined out seems to sound almost exactly like a representative republic.
And he went off on break somewhere. But
Oh,
Yes, kid or his
Des-
wife
Des-
use them.
So Des, how do you see it being better? Because I know what you're saying about the greater degree of separation that's happening. The
Mhm.
it's almost like an educational thing, isn't it? Where people have to have.
Hey, can I
some
jump in
degree
here?
of
Can I jump in here?
Education.
Wait, hold on. Let him finish asking his question.
People have to have some sort of education to bring them up to speed as to how society functions. Before
Okay, this is my point.
they can
This is actually
join
what I
other
was going to
things.
say. I think this system will only work once there's been mass spiritual enlightenment, yeah, and everybody knows for a fact inside themselves, in every single thing that they do, that we are creator.
Does that
Yeah.
include teenagers?
Yeah, that includes everybody.
Because I don't know if
that means
teenagers
that
can
means
handle it.
that like the indigo kids thing where they're being born with greater knowledge, that increasing. The people that are here already, everyone having a bashed open third eye, seeing the creator in all things and in everyone. Then sorry, Des, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just trying to say that the answer to kind of what you guys are saying, yeah, the whole system would work perfectly if everybody understood what we actually are. Yeah, that we're all one.
That's
yeah,
what
that
I
we
was
are
saying.
all, and if
Yeah,
you've
exactly.
got that connection to everyone, yeah, then then none of the kind of the
But if that
fear
was the
parts of
case,
it.
though, and I agree with you what you're saying, but in that instance, then there is no different separation with all these religious aspects and all this stuff. That wouldn't even
Exactly.
be there. So, except I just wasn't going to say, well, let's get rid of your religion. I mean, trying to be polite, but
well,
Why
no,
not?
no,
I get it.
but that it's really interesting because, yeah, although that is the idealistic outcome and scenario, realistically, we know how people are. So how do you handle it? And here's Andre lining out the a scenario with as minimalistic of a hierarchical situation as possible, with the most amount of representation, with the most amount of love put into it, and being able to take care of and be took care of each other in a situation that's perpetuating as a government. And it's looking exactly like a representative republic, which is what our Constitution is. But it has
Ours,
to
now
be
you gotta
followed.
understand, they're not, he's
I know,
ours.
I know.
We
That's
understand
what I'm
that
saying. And what
as
that
US.
means is what we were presented with originally, regardless of who it came up with it, was a good platform, but it was perverted. It was taken by the powers that be, the people that had the money and the power and the ability to twist history and erase parts of it and lie to us with their broadcast ability, censor our books.
You're talking about the Masons that wrote it with that intention to do that in the first place, and they're still doing it now. So it
I
hasn't been
that's
perverted.
fine.
That's what
I
it was
don't care
always
who
going to
it
be.
is. I don't care who it is. It doesn't matter. It's still negative. It's being twisted. But the point is, we're able to reverse engineer that, come back to the original, and say, well, how do we go forth in this shit show and do it as properly as possible? Oh, it was the original idea that these people come up with. Well, where did we go wrong? And then reverse engineering it, and then everyone's able to come up with their own answers. I mean, like you're saying, it was XYZ people doing this for this reason. That's fine, as long as you have the point of where the twist of the fabric of reality took place. That's where
The
you
heathen
know.
hand just after Atlantis sunk. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to
Andre's
know
got
where
his
that
hand up.
twist started.
So yes,
Andre's
exactly.
got his
The
hand up.
twist here we're going to find out. It's in this quote right here. The what you call political system is an example of theoretical free choice making. It is to be noted that the concept may become overburdened when too small at one end and too large at the other. Your societies tend to spin like tops because the balance point of power is small, those over whom power is held many. In this regard, we may say that for the ethics of control to be more nearly applicable to yellow ray social decision making, the communities in which decisions are made must needs be small. Small enough that each entity choosing has some small idea of who and what sort of entity each person is. And that's exactly why there's this community of around 60 people, whatever you want to call it, community center, and but it's only for 60 people, so that you'd still be able to. It's small enough to fit in the yellow ray. And then
Can you slide your thing up?
make it bigger.
No, I see it now. I just put it bigger on my screen. I just wanted you to slide up. I wanted to be able to see what you were saying. Okay.
Okay, so here's the family, because that's 6
Holy
people,
shit.
and that is yellow ray. But then your family by itself will not be able to do everything that it needs, and so that's why the church. But I noticed that we're already past 9, and so I just was wondering if we wanted to maybe schedule our next meeting, or talk about that. Like I was thinking we could.
Yeah, well, that's true because what do you guys want to do now that it's all of us back together? Most of us are here for the next reading.
So I was thinking we could do the Veil of Forgetting. I have already a compiled list for the Veil of Forgetting of quotes from the Kuo Confederation, from the Confederation of Planets. I can.
So how do you all right, so explain to me how that would work. Is it something that we Yeah, go ahead, show me.
So the Veil of Forgetting over here, and so these are lists of quotes from.
Oh, so you want to talk about that's the subject.
Yes, and then you can throughout the week review this, pick some quotes that you might like, and then we will discuss the quotes on the Friday. And I know Amanda has had experience with our format, so and then Ed as well. And so it's very similar to our Law of One thing, but it's just kind of thematic.
Oh, well, I was asking for the Law of One group. That's what Fridays specifically. But you're saying as far as you broadcasting it.
Oh, well, I was thinking, yeah, for the Law of One group, we could cover, because this is
yes,
still the
and then you
of Planets material.
Gotcha. That's fine for next week, I guess. And then if anybody wants to decide something for the next one, we'll talk about it at the next one.
Okay.
Actually, we'll talk about it in the beginning though, so that everyone is actually there to be able to.
Does anyone want to I mean, do we want to read another book, or are we going to go like?
Well, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah.
but I would like it to be. I mean, we can still do this next week since nobody's here, and then we'll give everyone this week to think about it. Because I do want to go into another reading that we go through.
Right.
What would we
Oh, I love that.
do though? Because you know, 'cause we had this
Exactly.
discussion before.
That is what I
There's
brought up to you guys like
such a
2
broad
months
range of
ago.
stuff. Sorry.
We
What are you sorry about?
be reading the
Interrupting.
Confederation. Okay. Go
No, I know, but you got to understand, like, we want to go through another thing too. You know, we're gonna do this next week. That's fine. Don't worry about that, Andre.
All right.
But just like what I did with them for the Law of One, like do something similar that we go through again, so that it's not. It's we all are going in there with the same things, the same whatever, and we're discussing it together. It's not. We don't have to worry about one person picking something or this and that, whatever. We just have to come up with a reading that we would want to do and go through, like we did with the raw contact. But it still needs to kind of go along, since it's for the group, still go along with like you got the okay. Let me see.
We could pick a session.
Let me think.
A channeling.
Well,
session.
we just a what session?
An NL research channeling session. Like here. Let me
So we could do closed sessions, or we could do that way or whatever. The sessions that LL Research do, or we could like Bene said that Prism of Illyria is a great book. It kind of gives you the kind of history of how it all fits together, and it's heavily related to the Confederation. I think it's a good one. But if we just wanted something to do in the meantime, has anyone ever else read A Course in Miracles?
Yes, I have, but it's really long.
Okay,
I have it in my room.
Like, I agree with you.
It's really long and boring,
dude. Because I found it really hard work. Because it's very, very God-centric. It's very much like talks about the personality and who God is. I really don't like that.
And you have to buy it. And
I have it.
A God of personality belittles what it is, and that's the thing that I loved most about Ra. Ra doesn't talk like he knows the creator. The creator is unknowable. Yeah, and that's the best thing about it. Yeah,
we can also
we can do voices. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We can do one of the other books from LL Research. And that I was just saying that in the meantime, while we pick something or something like that, it's only like 11 hours long on YouTube or whatever. So we could maybe do a few sessions and just bust through a couple of chapters and chat about it, because I'm smashing through it now, and to be fair, it's like a.
So why? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but why don't we do that then?
You can compare all the same terms from one. But
why don't we do exactly what Andre was saying anyways then? So Andre wants to do, he's choosing the thing for next week. And then the week after that, you can lead a thing through the Course of Miracles. And then if I wanted to the week after that, I'll do something from the Voices of Confederation. And then people can like each do something from theirs, whatever they choose. And then that way we kind of get a bit of everything.
Like Des is like a cult book club.
And then if Benny wants to do 1 week, and then we'll just we'll make a list and go down the line as long as it aligns with the teachings of the Law of One, whatever. Anyways, why not? Then each person can kind of contribute as well.
And
because the door wasn't open when Kate before Kate.
One or two.
What is that noise?
I can't hear.
I'm about
to. So usually LL Research comes out with a new session at least once a month, sometimes 2 to 3 times a month. If we were to dedicate 1 or 2 weeks to the most recent LL Research session, I think that would be very on topic.
I would like to input real quick on that, though, is I like the quote of the day on LL Research, because the quote of the day, you click on the link there and it brings you to the whole channeling. That's like, I don't know if they randomly choose those or not, but that seems like the universe saying this is a good message for the day. So that'd be a good Friday topic, whatever that quote of the day is.
Touche. I'm down.
Yeah, especially if we don't have anything recent to go through.
But where's the quote of the day on their Facebook, or do they post it on their web? Like, where is it?
It comes up on Facebook, but yeah, look it
On
up.
their
Ellen.
Facebook, right?
Right where Andre is showing you on the screen right there. A little
Oh,
bit
hold
more.
on, I gotta go back to
A little
looking.
A
more.
little bit more. There it is.
I only see,
There it
I
is,
see
quote of the
Gwen.
day.
Gwen is on the main screen of mine. I don't know why.
Quote of the day.
So
See,
this
then it
is,
Oh,
shows the
maybe I
whole
just accidentally
family.
clicked on it.
and then we could read the session. This one is on.
All right.
I don't know what this one's on.
They don't have
We're-
a necessary topic because each there could be 3 or 4 different instruments also. You know, there could be, I can't remember all their names right now. Each one of them could be doing something with Quo as the main energy source, whatever. I can't.
Mhm.
It's only 8:30, and I feel like I'm falling asleep.
It's
So-
9:30. Oh well, 9:24 here.
Yeah, we have time zones on Earth here.
Oh yes.
On,
Oh yeah. I didn't realize you were in a different one.
we're in your spaceship floating above it all. You don't have time zone.
All right. Well, do we want to round it up then for tonight? Okay.
Yep.
So we
I like that idea. Go on.
we leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator.
Good day. Love you guys.